Tonight, Wheatley residents reliving stress and worry.
Here we go again. Like we're gonna lose it all again.
Officials find another leak with the same gas found at the heart of the 2021 explosion.
We have no indication of any gas outside of like the immediate area.
The latest on the investigation and response. Plus, Trump ends trade talks with Canada.
So Trump putting these two things on the table now is just re-warming up a very old meal that's been lying around for some time.
The apparent reasons the president is ending negotiations immediately and what comes next. And adding to Windsor's waterfront.
I think it's probably the best and most exciting benefit project being built on the Canadian side.
The new project in Sandwich Town and the promise it brings for the West End.
CTV News with Stephanie Mazzotti.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. Stephanie is off on Ricardo, Veneza. Now we begin in Wheatley, where a familiar concern has resurfaced. A gas leak behind the town library triggered emergency protocols and a temporary evacuation yesterday afternoon. Officials say hydrogen sulfide was discovered coming from what they suspect was an old water well. Let's go to Wheatley, where our Bob Belichico is standing by with the very latest on this tonight. Bob.
Well, to pick up on what you're saying, the leak was found near an old water well with water in it behind the library here in Wheatley. Now, a vent stack has been installed to release some of that gas from the lower levels underground. I did speak with an engineer consultant who flew in from Alberta to investigate. She says that the gas is not a threat and that it is contained to a smaller area. The good thing in this situation is that the gas was not found in a building.
If they smell gas, call 911.
That's exactly what residents did Thursday, triggering emergency procedures born from 2021's devastating explosion on Erie Street in Wheatley. Residents on Foster Street were told to leave their homes after a business owner said he smelled gas and saw something bubbling out of the sewer behind the library.
We were able to monitor the gas at source, which showed that we had quite high concentrations of hydrogen sulfide. But we're also able to utilize our new equipment.
A machine with a gas monitor drove around the area, ensuring the gas wasn't traveling any further. Chatham-Kent Fire Chief Chris Case says evacuation protocols were implemented and about 30 homes, including Becky and Bugsy Lamb, were evacuated, giving them flashbacks of being out of their home for almost 2 years following the 2021 explosion. But thankfully, the evacuation only lasted a night.
We just had a team of wonderful people show up to the house here and help get us through all this. I'm explaining what's going on as far as they know right now.
The gas flowed from the ground for about 4 hours after the initial early afternoon calls.
We're continuing to monitor. There's been no indication of anything outside of a very small perimeter that's maybe 2 feet since what time? It was about 7 o'clock last night.
Residents were allowed to return to their homes after 1 a.m.
Some homes were checked by firefighters for the presence of gas to make sure that it was safe, and none was found.
Teresa Watson, an engineer consultant familiar with the 2021 explosion, flew in and feels confident the source of the leak has been discovered.
There's more investigation to do, but right now from the historical record checking that I've done, it appears that there was a water well there back in the 1930s.
A stack has been installed to allow the gas to escape and not build up. The area will continue to be monitored into next week.
We'll probably bring in a water well driller to properly abandon that water well. That's, of course, making sure it's confirmed that that is actually what it is.
Investigators are turning their attention and looking to see if there's a connection between this site and the site of the devastating explosion that took place in 2021 that leveled a block on Erie Street. Monitoring continues on that site, but for now, I think it's safe to say that the library is closed for the time being. But it's business as usual here in Uptown Wheatley, where folks are looking forward to the Fish Fest this weekend. And Ricardo, I'm sure that this definitely will be a topic of conversation. Back over to you.
Yeah, Bob, thank you for that. Scary situation, but happy to see that no one was hurt. Well, Windsor police have charged an American man with an alleged sexual assault of a 4-year-old. Police say a 46-year-old man described as a family friend was alone with the child on an outing. The child's parent noticed significant injuries upon their return and immediately went to hospital and called police. Now, police say the suspect fled to the U.S., where he was tracked down by marshals in Royal Oak, where he was arrested. The man is charged with aggravated assaults of a sexual nature and sexual interference. A new program aimed at supporting some of our most vulnerable is coming to Windsor. New Beginnings is receiving $600,000 in provincial funding over 3 years to launch a new child victim witness program in Windsor, Essex. The program is designed to reduce the trauma young victims and witnesses of crime may experience when testifying in court. Services will include court preparation, emotional support, and referrals for additional help. New Beginnings Executive Director Stacey Yannikopoulos says while the program is new, it will be strengthened by existing services like outreach and clinical counseling. Yannikopoulos says it's a collaborative effort with community partners, including police, courts, and child welfare agencies. 2 new full-time specialists have already been hired. The province is spending $4.2 million to expand the program to 15 communities across Ontario.
To be expected to navigate these systems without supports, it's unrealistic. And we want these children and these families to come out feeling heard, to come out feeling powerful, to come out feeling supported, and that they can move forward, and that this isn't going to have those long-lasting, impacts and effects, that they can really just move forward with their lives.
After months of trade turbulence, as we've told you right here on CTV News Windsor, and of course economic uncertainty that's come with it caused by Donald Trump's trade war, the American president announcing today he's walking away from the table. The president says he's terminating all trade talks with Canada effective immediately. And as CTV's Judy Trin reports, he's blaming one issue in particular.
As the Prime Minister was hosting a virtual meeting to update his cabinet on U.S. trade negotiations, the president dropped a bombshell. On social media, Trump said because of Canada's digital services tax on American technology companies, he's terminating all discussions on trade with Canada, effective immediately.
We will seek to have these unjustified tariffs removed. And that is the reason why we, because of the complexity of the negotiations, will not be having that conversation in public.
Tech companies that have revenues of more than $20 million, like Google, Meta, and Airbnb, are subject to the 3% digital sales tax. The first payment is due Monday. It's unclear if the Prime Minister knew this was coming, but in Brussels earlier this week, Carney spoke more cautiously about the progress of trade talks.
We'll do what's right for Canada. We're working hard to get a deal, but we'll accept the right deal with the United States. The right deal is possible, but it's nothing's assured.
Over the past several years, both the Biden administration and Trump have called the digital tax discriminatory against American companies. This former deputy prime minister says the tax can be scrapped to save negotiations.
I think the digital services tax is expendable in the context of getting a trade negotiation settled with the United States. But I don't think that if you've got something in a negotiation that you're willing to give up, you don't offer that off the top.
For months, the government has been trying to get punishing U.S. tariffs on steel, aluminum, and autos removed and stave off future duties. Now Trump says he will tell Canada, along with other countries, what tariff rate it will pay.
Over the next week and a half or so, or maybe before, we're going to send out a letter. We talked to many of the countries, and we're just going to tell them what they have to pay to do business in the United States. And it's going to go very quickly.
The Parliamentary Budget Officer estimates that the federal government would get more than $7 billion over 5 years with the digital services tax. Analysts say it's unlikely Donald Trump will return to the negotiating table without the removal or pause of this tax. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Well, let's go to CTV meteorologist Gary Archbold now for our first check of the forecast. And Gary, we're living with a heat warning right now and some storms as well.
Yeah, severe weather, thunderstorm potential as we speak, Ricardo, and through this evening. We saw the clouds starting to roll in near the bridge, so from west to east across Michigan into southern Ontario. A cold front, a well-defined one, is sweeping right across the heart of the U.S., the upper Midwestern states into the lower Great Lakes for Ontario, and then eventually Quebec and further east from there. We'll see the storminess erupting now and through the overnight. It's still going to be warm the next couple of days. The heat warning still in place at this juncture, at least until Monday morning. Could be extended. We'll talk about the extended forecast that leads to Canada Day next Tuesday. It's all coming up just ahead.
Okay, Gary, thank you for that. Well, a new project in Windsor's Waterfront is about to offer more than just a view. Port Windsor is moving ahead with plans for a public pier in Sandwich Town, one that promises to connect the community not just to the water, but to each other. CTV's Chris Campbell is joining us now from the site with more on what this cultural pier will mean for the community. Chris.
Yes, Ricardo, I'm standing where a new public pier will soon stretch out over the Detroit River at Queen's Dock in the heart of Sandwich Town. Once built, the lookout will offer sweeping views of the Ambassador Bridge and the new Gordie Howe International Bridge, and also serve as a space for reflection, education, and reconciliation of Indigenous history.
This is truly a community-based project.
A new cultural pier is coming to the foot of Mill Street in Sandwich Town. Part lookout, part green space, and part historical landmark.
It's really important that there becomes a lasting legacy and connection between the construction of that bridge and this port.
Port Windsor says construction is beginning on what it calls the Queen's Dock Cultural Pier. It will include Indigenous interpretive signage, landscape spaces, and a unique suspended design with clear views of the new Gordie Howe International Bridge.
When we consulted with First Nations, they said, well, you haven't got it quite right. You know, in our teachings and our learnings, you always enter from the left, you seek learning and knowledge, and then you exit from the right. And so you'll see the new bridge design is almost a triangle where you'll go up the left side. There's a straight walkway over top the water. You can ponder, contemplate the waterfront, the industry, the beauty, the connection with nature, and then you exit from the right.
The design honors the Indigenous history of the land, traditional territory of the Three Fires Confederacy.
Any kind of collaborative effort is good, especially when it's done in a good way and it's done with consultation with us like this. This is a very good shining example of just that.
The pier will also be a space to celebrate ceremony, cast a line, or simply enjoy the water.
Not only will it provide an opportunity to get a great view of the Gordie Howe International Bridge, but it really does celebrate the region's culture, which is a key priority for us.
The project is projected to cost about $2.5 million, $950,000 of it coming from the Gordie Howe International Bridge Community Benefits Plan, and backed by a long list of local partners, from engineers to college students to steel manufacturers.
This is unique. It's community-based. It's community designed. It's going to be community-built. I think it's probably the best and most exciting benefit project being built on the Canadian side.
The cultural pier is set to open in September 2025. Port Windsor says it hopes this new space will inspire visitors, educate them, and bring people together here where the water has always told a story. Ricardo?
Okay, Chris, thank you for that. Yeah, very cool. Can't wait to go check it out. That's CTV's Chris Campbell tonight. Well, the city's 10 newest red light cameras may not be operational until the fall. The first 10 traffic cameras were installed in 2022 and immediately started issuing fines. The cameras automatically take 2 photos of the offending vehicle, one when the light turns red and then before it enters the intersection. And the second photo captures the vehicle traveling through the intersection with the light turned red. More than 6,000 tickets were issued in the following year and over $1.2 million in fines were paid. Installation of the next 10 cameras started in April but aren't expected to go online until September. While construction of an eastbound on-ramp at Howard Avenue will continue essentially for the rest of the summer. The City of Windsor says the detour will last until at least August 30th, weather permitting, for improvements to the Grand Maris drain, which is just south of the expressway. Well, the loop phase of the LaSalle Landing project opens tomorrow with a ribbon-cutting ceremony planned. The fencing is down around the $9 million loop, which features a walking path for the warmer seasons and a skating loop in the winter, likely to open in November. The LaSalle Landing waterfront project costs about $50 million in total and joins Gilmar Park, Front Road Park, and Riverdance Park, altogether a 60-acre site at the riverfront. That ribbon cutting is set to be held for tomorrow afternoon at 4:30 with food trucks and a movie night at the event center at 6. There will be a drone show for the town's first Canada Day celebrations that night as well, instead of fireworks. Well, if a local beach is calling you this weekend, you might want to avoid Holiday Beach and Colchester Beach on Lake Erie. The health unit has issued warnings for those beaches due to high E. coli levels. Now, with Canada Day approaching, a new survey has found that most people feel proud to be Canadian. A new Angus Reid poll shows nearly 80% of us are proud to call this country home. In fact, almost half say that they are very proud. The kind of pride that probably involves belting out "O Canada" at full volume. People in Ontario and Atlantic Canada top the list, with about half saying they're bursting with pride, but out west it's a bit more reserved. In Alberta, 28% of folks say they're not very proud or not proud at all. Saskatchewan and Quebec weren't far behind. The survey also hints that rising tensions with the U.S. may have reignited some good old-fashioned Canadian pride, because nothing unites us quite like being politely defiant. And that brings us to our question of the day. Are you proud to be Canadian? You can go to our website to cast your vote. That's at ctvnewswindsor.ca. Now, yesterday we asked if speeding was an issue on your street. Out of just under 700 votes, 69% say yes. A modern makeover still ahead on Windsor's news leader. How tech is changing Main Street as an increasing number of small businesses tap into AI. And a sudden exit later. The major leadership change as the Masai Ujiri era comes to an end for the Toronto Raptors. And Monday, marketplace scams are on the rise and police are sounding the alarm. What you need to know Monday at 6 on CTV News. Start your day with the latest local news. By signing up for our newsletter, you'll get direct local content straight from CTV Windsor to your inbox, including top stories, the forecast, and videos. You can sign up at ctvnewswindsor.ca. Canadian consular officials are seeking more information about a Canadian man's death while in the custody of U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The agency says Johnny Naviello was found unresponsive in Miami on June 23rd. He had been in the U.S. since 1988 and had become a legal permanent resident about 3 years later. ICE says Naviello was being detained while facing deportation over a 2023 conviction for racketeering and drug trafficking. The cause of death is under investigation. From chatbots to content creation, AI tools are changing the way small businesses in our area operate. Invest Windsor Essex has been holding seminars to help local entrepreneurs get a handle on emerging tools like ChatGPT and AI-powered invoicing systems. Marketing and entrepreneurship manager Natasha Marar says businesses are using AI to automate emails, streamline operations, and make better decisions. Later this summer, the center will launch a new Digital Adopt Accelerator program offering e-learning, digital assessments, and one-on-one support to help businesses integrate AI tools more effectively.
That's very exciting. I mean, it's like the internet all over again, right? So there's a lot to learn. I mean, obviously there's different costs and consideration and risk, and how do you implement and have an AI policy in your workplace? So there's much for all of us to learn. But I think it's an exciting thing for our team to really tackle and to help to bring it forward to the businesses in Windsor and Essex County.
Well, to Ottawa now, the Liberal government's bill aimed at fast-tracking major projects has become law after passing the Senate and receiving royal assent yesterday. The law, introduced as Bill C-5, allows Ottawa to sidestep environmental protections and other legislation to advance projects it considers vital to the national economy and public interest. Now, those projects include the Dresden dump under the provincial Bill 5. Indigenous and environmental groups say the legislation grants the federal government the ability to rush through projects without proper consultation.
The last thing we need now, with everything that's happening in the world and Trump changing his mind every second day in a tweet, is to have lengthy, protracted, expensive litigation. That will hold up projects a lot longer than had they come to the table and started the environmental review process.
Well, new research on Canadian glaciers suggests they're not doing well. They're melting at record rates, far exceeding anything seen in the last half-century. With more, here's CTV's Sinjin Alexander.
This is one of thousands of glaciers in BC, and if you look closely, you'll spot researchers below as the drone flies by. These are scientists examining one of hundreds of glaciers in Switzerland. Teams on both sides are alarmed by what they're finding, a rapid, unprecedented melt.
When we drilled this stake in the last September, the ice surface was somewhere up here.
Research led by the University of Northern BC finds glaciers in Western Canada and Switzerland are showing the largest loss on record, especially in the last 4 years. These long bodies of dense ice are supposed to melt. The ice turns to fresh water and then are replenished in the colder months. It's just that we're taking far more out than we're putting back.
In late summer, the glaciers are still representing and delivering lots of runoff to our streams, but they are stealing from the future.
In the U.S. and Western Canada, UNBC researchers estimate we lost more than 22 gigatons of ice. In perspective, that's enough to bury Metro Toronto under 35 meters of meltwater.
The glaciers are not in a healthy state. They are in what's called an imbalance with present-day climate.
It's a Swiss cheese that is getting more holes everywhere. And these holes are collapsing, and it's not good for the glacier.
They say much of it is being caused by our drier and hotter summers. The melt is also uncovering darker ice below, which of course attracts heat.
We want these glaciers to be nice and bright, so they will reflect more energy coming in from sunlight.
And then there's evidence that the residual effects of wildfires are only making it worse.
Fallout from that smoke, impurities such as soot and ash, and we are believing that that is also playing a fundamental role in the darkening of these surfaces.
Scientists say rapid melts can have impacts on drinking water, natural hazards, even tourism. St. Alexander, CTV News, Vancouver.
Some incredible visuals there. Well, a major shakeup in the sports world. Masai Ujiri is no longer the president and vice chair of the Toronto Raptors. Ujiri was, of course, instrumental in steering the team to its only NBA championship. CTV's Adrian Gabriel with some insight tonight into the team's decision to cut ties after 13 seasons.
June 2019, Ujiri was basking in the glow of a championship. 6 years later, almost to the day, the proud president has been shown the door.
Today's not an easy day, but as you know, change is never easy.
While acknowledging Ujiri's accomplishments, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment CEO Keith Pelly felt now was the time for change.
Keith, you're in the business of winning. What has led you and the board at MLSC to believe that the Raptors are better positioned to win without Masai than with him?
I can't unequivocally answer your question right now because I don't know the answer.
Recently, Bell Canada, the parent company of CTV News, sold its stake in the Raptors and MLSE to Rogers Communications, who are now the majority owners.
I mean, I saw Masai a couple days ago. He seemed jovial. He seemed like himself.
We now know Ujiri was told at the beginning of the month that he was going to be let go and that he asked to stay on and help the team through the NBA draft. One league insider believes the eye-opening move is about the bottom line.
This was a cost-cutting move, first and foremost. He was already one of the highest-paid executives in sports, if not the highest paid.
Ujiri was bold and brazen when it came to his love of Canada, Toronto, and the Raptors. Fined by the league for dropping an F-bomb during an unexpected playoff run in 2014. A philanthropist championing his Giants of Africa charity, he also had the support and friendship of former U.S. President Barack Obama. In the front office, he orchestrated multiple trades, which led to a championship that he was unable to fully enjoy after being pushed by a police officer and initially refused entry onto the court to celebrate with his team. In what would be his final season-ending press conference with the Raptors in April, Ujiri, as always, had his eye on winning.
We just have to win another one, and we will win another one here. Yeah, and that's how I feel inside.
In the end, Masai Ujiri took a team that was a perennial playoff disappointment and turned them into a champion, while always encouraging Canadian basketball fans to hold their head high and always be proud of their team, their city, and their country. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Toronto.
A big loss for Raptors fans. Well, for the first time in 46 years, the intersection of Portage and Main, or as Winnipeggers say, Portage and Main, of course, in Winnipeg, is open for pedestrian crossings.
Today, we're putting an end to 46 years of debating whether or not people should be allowed to cross the street.
As of today, people can walk across one of the country's most famous intersections. The project to transform the crossing, known as Canada's windiest and coldest corner, started last November. Cost estimates predicted it would be cheaper than fixing the existing underground concourse. Well, Canada's main stock index finishing lower Friday after the Trump administration said that it was terminating trade talks with Canada. You can see there the TSX falling 60 points. The Dow, though, up 432, while the NASDAQ climbs 106 points. The Canadian dollar also down today to rest at 73.12 cents U.S. Gold losing more than $60 an ounce in value, and oil up again, inching up 28 cents a barrel. An escalating crisis. The new numbers that show opioid overdoses are surging in Windsor, Essex. The area is the hardest hit in Ontario, with both ER visits and deaths climbing.
Let's take a look at our CTV News weather snapshot. Thanks to Mark Hewer for always sending in gorgeous views, just like this one. We'll talk heat warning and thunderstorm, maybe even more of the same into next week. We'll see. Coming up.
Discussion here at Windsor City Hall.
Windsor's top stories.
A major project is about to get underway.
Breaking news alerts.
Severe weather is a possibility.
And watch live.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us.
Download the CTV News app.
Okay, Gary is back with his extended look at the forecast. Gary, blue skies, mix of sun and cloud earlier in the day, but as we mentioned earlier in the broadcast, we are tracking a set of storms to bring us into the weekend.
That's right. Earlier, we saw the clouds starting to really form up, getting vertical, and that's a sign of the instability in the atmosphere. It's been a hot, humid day. That's the fuel for storms and very indicative of this summer's season. Reach a high of 33.4 degrees Celsius. We're down to about 32 now at the airport. That's 90 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the ambient temperature. Factor in the humidity. It feels closer to about 40 to 42, depending on where you are between Windsor, Essex. Cooler in Chatham Kent, closer to about 24, 25. That's 75 degrees Fahrenheit. So you get the idea. Humidex 42, and then moving further east, a little bit less of a issue, but still 33 is warm, and we're in the upper 30s, low 40s throughout southern Ontario. The area showers and thunderstorms that we are encountering right now will induce some significant gusts, and I think this is being downplayed with this computer model simulation, suggesting that as these storms erupt and as this front moves through, we'll see gusts in that 35 to 50 range. I think 60 plus is very possible, especially along the north shores of Lake Erie. So, cold front sweeping across the upper Midwestern USA, right through the heart of eastern Michigan, and that means for us, and we are in the midst of it right now, hence not just the heat warning because we are warm and above seasonal, but we're also dealing with thunderstorm watches and warnings for the next several hours. We'll be in and out of it. And then we'll get into a clearing. I think Saturday morning pre-dawn, we still are looking at some showers, possibly through to about 6 or 7 a.m. And then things start to look better towards the latter stage of the morning into the afternoon. I think Saturday afternoon will be warm and sunny, definitely post, say, 1 p.m. The rainfall tallies projected, we're looking at very very scattered amounts. Again, it's isolated and very localized, but some areas will see that 10 to 20, 30 millimeters tonight as I speak through the overnight. Tomorrow, looking at about 28, feeling like 37. Showers in the morning, but then a nice afternoon. Sunday looks pretty good, 31. Probability precipitation only about 20%. Showers Monday, 30 on Canada Day, and then about 30 degrees the average as we look towards Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and humid with some showers moving through.
Lifetime, brought to you by Safeguard Medical Alert Systems.
New numbers show a troubling trend for opioid overdose rates in Windsor, Essex, with the region remaining among the highest in Ontario. Both opioid-related deaths and emergency visits are trending upward in Windsor, Essex, exceeding provincial averages. Figures reported to the health unit show in 2024 the region saw 519 emergency department visits for opioid overdoses. That is the highest on record since 2014. Now, in 2019, there were 258 ED visits. Windsor Essex opioid overdose rate is 11.09 per 10,000 residents. The provincial average is 7.76. Opioid-related deaths are also on the rise. There were 127 fatalities reported in 2023. That's nearly double the provincial number. There were 28.9 deaths per 100,000 residents recorded locally, compared to the provincial average of 16.8. Now, on Thursday, the health unit moved to push for more funding opportunities from all levels of government, and that communities like Windsor Essex are prioritized.
It's pressure on the healthcare partners, on the emergency department. It also talks about the burden on these individuals. Each overdose can lead to permanent brain damage and other issues related to that. So it's very concerning.
Well, there's progress on the measles front. Health officials say cases in Windsor, Essex have seen a major drop, and the region could be clear of the outbreak altogether. At the height of the measles outbreak in April, there were more than 80 confirmed cases in Windsor, Essex. 2 cases have been confirmed so far in June, and transmission is showing signs of slowing. Officials continue to urge parents to make sure their children are vaccinated, especially ahead of the new school year. Those who may have been exposed are encouraged to watch for symptoms which can appear up to 3 weeks after exposure. Since February, the region has recorded 147 cases of measles. Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Mehdi Allouche, says measles were eliminated in Canada for decades, and the hope is to go back to that situation by the winter. Well, don't call it 21 Jump Street, but bylaw officials in Ottawa are trying something different, using teens undercover to test tobacco and vape retailers to see if they're selling to minors. As CTV's Katie Griffin reports, some of them are as young as 14 years old.
This security video showing a young boy at Vape Canada in the Byward Market trying to buy something.
When he walked in here, I asked, what are you looking for? Because obviously I can't sell you anything in here.
Kieran Cousins thought he was lost. He went outside and saw the teen getting into a bylaw vehicle.
And was like, yep, we start them young so they can learn, and told me that, quote, what do you want me to do? Not do my job?
The whole purpose of this is to ensure that establishments are complying with the provisions of the Smoke-Free Ontario Act.
As mandated by that act, the city hires kids between 14 and 17 years old to inspect each retailer selling tobacco and vaping products twice a year to ensure they're not selling to minors, supervised by tobacco enforcement officers.
Basically, they're going with one of our officers to a store they're entering, and they're, trying to buy these types of products, and we'll issue a charge if there is a sale there.
So far this year, there have been 657 youth inspections across the city and 46 charges laid for selling to someone under the age of 19. This month, the Renfrew County and District Health Unit posting this job ad looking for youth inspectors.
That's how you would catch them, yes.
definitely.
I totally agree that the city should do this.
The vape store's issue isn't with an undercover inspection, but with who is doing it.
It's very disappointing to see them purposely sending in kids that look like they're 12 years old. He was still very visibly uncomfortable, and the footage in both stores shows that plainly. He's playing with his drawstring and very nervous and doesn't even really know what he's asking me for.
Katie Griffin, CTV News.
Well, it's wrapping around fences, flowers, and trees. Coming up on Windsor's News Leader, tips to tackle stubborn vine weed that may be choking your garden.
It's the summer of music. Enter country at ctvwindsor.ca for your chance to win a pair of VIP tickets to see Lee Brice, the Reclaws, and more at Rock the Park, Saturday, July 12th, plus an overnight stay in London.
Talk to us about this invasive species.
This one is an enemy. So again, we have bindweed, sometimes called wild morning glory, and this is one of the most serious pests to gardeners. It's extremely invasive and very, very persistent. It's a perennial weed, so it can live year to year to year and spread further and further each year.
That's why it keeps coming back in my garden. I thought I'd just rip it out and get rid of it.
The ripping out is not so likely to happen. So underground, there's a network of these thickened rhizomatous roots, and they go wide and they go deep. And even if you think you pulled it out, this is going to remain down in the ground, but there's also going to be others that will be spread out all over the place. And even if we do break it off, this will still grow. This can still live within the soil and will spread into your garden. So it's very difficult to control, and we really do not have an approved pesticide to control it either. So very problematic for the gardener.
Talk to us about why it's doing so well right here in this corner.
You've given us warm, humid weather, so that's what bindweed really loves. And this is a great location because it's got some sun, it's got some light, it's got some space, and of course here, without anything else crowding it out, it's ideal for it to spread. You can even see it going over towards the step there. I think if we left it for a long time, it would probably encircle itself even around here. It might be decorative, but it's also very problematic for the home gardener.
Give us an idea of maybe some of the plants that do well against it, if there's such a species.
I'm not even sure that something can tolerate it. Usually it's less problematic in shade. So a shade garden is usually less likely to have as much bindweed. It does like the sun and heat. But most plants, even the strongest ground covers, can rarely compete with bindweed. It'll go through it, in it, into the crown of plant, and will spread even from there.
Okay, yeah, morning glory, the stuff of garden nightmares. Oh, Windsor will be filled with the sounds of Scotland tomorrow night. The former world champion 78th Fraser Highlanders pipe band will take the stage Saturday nights at the Fogelar Furland Club. The event promises an evening of live piping and drumming celebrating Scottish heritage and musical excellence. The night will be hosted by a familiar face to our viewers. That's former CTV anchor Jim Crichton. Show runs from 7 to 9, and attendees are encouraged to bring canned goods or monetary donations to support local food banks. You can buy tickets online, or you can get them for $30 cash at the door. Organizers say it's a unique opportunity to see world-class talent right here in Windsor and give back at the same time.
It's going to be so much fun, and to hear some of the music that, well, the pipes that will be playing, and then knowing that you're giving back to the community, bring those canned goods. And it's, $27 in change to come, and cash at the door, $30. How can you miss out?
Yeah, sounds like a fantastic event. Well, we want to hear from you. Do you have thoughts or comments on a story? You can text us at 10400. You can also shoot us over photos and videos at that number as well.
Unscripted, unpredictable, and unapologetic. Wake up with Hannah and Johnny on 93.9 Virgin Radio.
This
This is your CTV Windsor Our Community Calendar. The Port Windsor Jazz and Arts Festival is coming to Sandwich Town Sunday, July the 6th. Experience the sounds of 11 bands, 60 musicians, Juno Award winners, and it's all free. See you next time on Our Community.
All right, it's time to check in on what's happening now with Melanie Kentner. Melanie, we're heading back to Wheatley for a look at what the future could hold after that gas leak last night.
That's right. Things seem to be under control after yesterday's discovery of a gas leak, but many are wondering what's next. The site behind the library is being monitored, and the search for the exact source of the leak will continue into next week. In the meantime, some are wondering if the gas leak will hinder future projects, like the building of the new Legion next door to the library. Chatham-Kent Mayor Darren Caniff says investors should not be worried about the safety of the area.
As the minister mentioned, they spent $50 million in the province to make this area safe. So what about the areas that they know there's wells, but there's been no work done? So I'd argue just the opposite, that it's much safer. We have monitoring wells. We understand the area. So I'm quite confident as we move forward that this is a great place to locate.
We've got the latest updates from Wheatley online at ctvnewswindsor.ca.
Yeah, certainly a lot of concern there, Melanie. We've also got a list of events online as we head into a busy summer weekend.
Yes, there's so much to do in Windsor, Essex leading up to Canada Day next week. From art fairs and farmers markets to live music and theatre, there is pretty much something for everyone. It's the last weekend for the Waterfront Midway, and there's even a Regency Ball at Williston Manor. You can check out the full rundown on our website. And in our social spotlight, you can tell this boy loves his dogs.
You have 3 dogs and someone takes away 2 of them. Now how many do you have?
3.
No, okay, you have 3 dogs and someone forcibly takes away 2 of them. Now how many do you have?
3 and a dead body.
You have 3 dogs.
Oh, see, because nobody would get past these guys. That's some pretty good kid math there, Ricardo.
Yeah, creative kid math. I don't know if that would fly in math class, so we'll have to hear what his teachers have to say about that.
Yeah, exactly. But you can't blame a kid for loving his dogs.
Yeah, no, he loves his dogs. That's good to see. Okay, Mel, thanks so much for that. That's a look at what's happening now.
We need to make sure that we don't forget where we came from.
Patriotic pride when we return, why these Canadian streets are awash in red and white.
The latest news to start your day.
Interviews, conversations with the top officials, the difference makers, and personalities in Windsor, Essex.
Only on Windsor, Essex #1 morning show.
It's Mornings with Mike and Meg on AM 800.
Yeah, Gary, these images are a little bit misleading, potentially, at least to my eye, as to what we're actually dealing with this evening as we track these storms moving through the region.
Well, you do see some blue sky there, but the cloud type is indicative of a very unstable air mass, really starting to build up. And with that, some area showers. But earlier today, warm, sunny. A lot of people were out. Saw some people in beach volleyball enjoying that. But now through the evening, overnight into tomorrow morning, we're looking at some showers and thunderstorm activity. It will be warm, hence the heat warning still in place at least until Monday morning. We're several degrees above seasonal, but the humidity will make it feel like about 40 to 42 over the next couple of days. And Canada Day, unfortunately, it looks like we will see some rain for part of the day, but I don't think it will be a complete washout. 30 degrees the average temperature next week.
Yeah, still a lot of active weather to get through before we get to Canada Day, so we'll see how things shape up then. Yep. Gary, thank you for that.
Okay.
Well, finally for us tonight, folks, a community in southern Alberta is putting patriotic pride on display. CTV's Mark Villani has more on the initiative that's uniting neighbors.
On a high river street awash in red and white, James Young says the flag placed on his front lawn symbolizes a deep connection to his country.
We need to make sure that we don't forget where we came from. And I think it's very important that the people that made this land free don't get forgotten about and we don't quit on them.
It's why volunteers are loading these flags onto trucks and hammering pins into the ground. Led by members of the High River Rotary Club, flags are rented for $50 each year and placed on front lawns 3 times annually for the May long weekend, Canada Day celebrations, and Labor Day. What started with just 100 flags back in 2019 has now grown into a sea of over 600 this year.
And you can probably imagine why that is. There's a certain elbows up nationalism in the country right now, and yeah, people want to display what side they're on.
The funds raised from flag rentals go towards local scholarships, a seniors bus program, food bank supports, and other global initiatives.
It builds our club, brings us all together as members, and gives us a sense of purpose.
Sometimes you get a neighbor coming out and say, how can I get one? When you stand back or you're driving away, you just feel a great sense of accomplishment and being very patriotic.
It's a massive expression of Canadian nationalism and patriotism.
And for people like James Young,
it makes me very proud to be a Canadian.
Programs like this help him demonstrate national pride. His front license plate's a testament to keeping Canada unified as 10 provinces and 3 territories.
We sure hope it's going to stay that way.
Mark Villani, CTV News in High River.
Yeah, Rotary always working to make good things happen in communities, eh, Gary?
Yeah, I agree about that. Ricardo, I like that license plate, right? Unity throughout, wherever you drive.
I don't know if you can do that in Ontario, though, right? Alberta, you only need the back one. You only need one license plate. In Ontario, you need front and back, right?
I think you're right about that. I'll be a rebel.
You got to get creative. You can just put the stickers, bumper stickers.
That's
there
right.
Okay, that is our time, folks. Thank you so much for tuning in.
For updates throughout the evening, go to ctvnewswindsor.ca.
I'm Ricardo, Veneza, and for everyone here at CTV on both sides of the camera, have a great night. We'll see you again tonight at 11.
Good night.